Up here. Hello, everyone. Jess Claire here with the amazing Pix Jonnason. Did I say that right?
You absolutely did,
Yeah,
Jess.
I did. Okay.
Nailed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being on here. For those of you that are on, please, you're going to be dying. Please make a comment if you are jumping on from any of the channels, from YouTube, from Amplify group, from my profile. I'll introduce you, Pix, and then after I introduce you, you can go and share it to your page so other people can join for you as well.
I'll leave that because I'm not going to muck around with StreamYard, but that's all good, Jess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, you tell me, like, I could introduce you. I know you're an international speaker, you've done a whole lot of things, you've won awards, but you know, what I really loved when I spoke to you was really who you were for people and how much of a difference you wanted to make for people, and use your own experience to make that kind of difference. So why don't you introduce yourself and say, how did you end up here on this show of all shows?
Gosh, was LinkedIn, wasn't it, Jess?
It was.
It was
Yes.
LinkedIn. See, the power of social media, guys. You know, and I'm all about, whilst this is obviously virtual and digital, I'm all about having real, raw conversations. So I can't remember who reached out to who, but it's like I obviously looked at your profile and respected you. I went, man, I need to speak with this lady. So we connected and we just had a really heartfelt chat. And you said you'd love to have me as a guest. So thank you. I feel very privileged and honoured. And yeah, here we are.
I did. I was like, you're a rock star. We have to have you on this show. It's about being real and raw. You know, I'm really upped the level, haven't I, guys, in the Raw channel? And who's that? Haley, that's right. We love real and raw. Exactly.
Thank you, everyone who's watching too. I really appreciate you taking time out of your evening or watching the replay later on.
Yes, yes. And for those of you, depending on where you're tuning in from, so if I'm tuning in from Channel Raw, I can see you. If you're tuning in from my Facebook page, I sometimes can. For some reason on StreamYard, I don't see everyone. And anyway, I would love to interact with you guys. So if you see your name as a Facebook user, just let me know who you are so I can acknowledge you and say, hello, hey, Linda. It's my happy place. Real and raw is the happy place. This is what I want to create, is that, you know, we're talking tonight about what it is. What is stigma? You know, what is this normalize? And I have so many people say to me, you know, there's no stigma, there's no normalize. But if you know, I want to explore that because I think there's a lot of stigma.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think people become absolutely weird around discussions of mental health. And I think people pick up on weird. And then they get weird because other people are weird. And then there's this whole weird party.
Weirdness.
It is. It's a whole weird party. So I want to talk about that and talk to you about it. But before we do, why don't you introduce yourself? I've started talking. Is there anything else? Why don't you say, you know, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Jess. Pix Jonnason, live in beautiful DY, Northern Beaches, always been a regional chick, so moving to the city of the gorgeous Northern Beaches probably about 18 months ago. Single mum of two beautiful kids, 24-year-old son, Sam, who lives in Melbourne, and my gorgeous girl, Katie, who we share a unit together. Who am I? Basically, I'm a mental health advocate, first and foremost. That's really the guts of what I do. And in line with that, I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I do have my own online health and wellness business, Jess. So, yeah.
You do. And again, thank you so much for being on here and talking about this, because you've got an incredible story. And I can't wait to share that with you. I work with a lot of people that have been, you know, had the courage, because you call yourself a couragepreneur. Had the courage to really kind of stand out and go, yeah, this is what's happening. It's not okay. And do that also from a place of making a difference. Hello, Nicole, Sarah, Miri, thank you. But why don't you talk about that? Like, why do you call yourself a couragepreneur, and why was that sort of term granted to you?
Yeah, well, I made it up, so I own it. I was only £2.2 when I was born, Jess. So that's for your
Wow.
generation, probably less than a kilo, 990 grams. So
I was
basically
10
two little
pounds.
tubs of butter. Yeah. So you were like
Wow.
almost 5 times my weight.
Yeah,
And
wow.
when I was born, Mum said she knew because I hung on to her hand so tightly. She knew that I was a little fighter. So I was courageous then. And then my maiden name was Cumming. And I had to be courageous to grow up with a maiden name like Cumming as well.
Fix coming.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
But
I can
also,
imagine.
our family motto was courage, the lion.
Mm.
And then I've just overcome so many challenges. And look, I'm not discrediting anyone that's watching this as well, Jess, because if they told me their story, I'd go, holy shit, you keep yours, I'll have mine. But I have overcome a lot of life learning experiences and challenges. And I've had that courage. And Dad, my late dad, used to work for Courage Breweries. So I guess courage has always been like around me. And I went, you know
Mm.
what? I'm bloody resilient. I'm courageous. That's going to be who I am.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. And look, we won't get into it too much, but you're passionate about mental health, and we're talking
Yeah.
about the stigma, right? When was
Yep.
it? When was it? And I always like to say hello to anyone that jumps on. Hello, Holly, Trish, Steph, Leon, Linda,
Oh, we got a
everyone who's
guy.
watching
Yeah.
again. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Anyone who is watching, please leave us a comment. I can see them all up here, but like I said, they don't all, not all the
Yeah.
names come up. You have
Yep.
to kind of let StreamYard see you. Um, but when we talk about stigma, and I sort of said it to you, the amount of people that sort of criticize me for
Mm,
going, who are you to deal with mental
mm.
health?
Yeah. Where's your bit of
Um,
paper, Jess? What do you know?
exactly. And I'm like, what is this
Yeah.
stigma? And what is this? How do we normalize this, Pix?
Well,
What does that
stigma's
even mean,
kind
right?
of like a mark of disgrace. And what I want, and you're so bloody passionate about, is normalising the conversation around mental health. You know,
Mm,
I've literally just come off the back of 24 hours of meditation, and beautiful friend founded that movement. I didn't know him, but we've become friends, and it's making meditation mainstream. So we want to make mental health conversation mainstream. Like, just because you haven't got a bloody bandage on it does not mean it's any less of an illness or a disease, and shouldn't be swept under the carpet.
no.
Because, you know, 1 in 5 Aussies from 16 to 85 will experience mental health each and every year. And, you know, it's everything from depression, anxiety, and substance use disorder. They're the common ones. But almost half of the Australian population, and you've probably got international viewers, and I respect that, but half of us Aussies, 45%, will experience mental health issues in their life.
Do you know what I reckon? I reckon 100% of us do.
Well, that's
And
the
I just, I,
statistics, but yeah,
I know. I
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I think it's quite normal. I don't know a person that I've
Mm.
spoken to that doesn't experience anxiety.
Oh, especially in this time, like in times such as these. And then there's going to be like kind of reconnection anxiety. People that didn't have any anxiety are going to go, oh my God, I've got to face people, I've got to face traffic, I've got to go to work.
Yeah.
Because whilst they've had to adjust and accommodate being internal, like in their own little bubble at home, they're going to have to, you know, rehabilitate in society. So, yeah, definitely, I agree with you too. You know, for any length of time, it might be a day, a week, a month, whatever it is. I believe that people do, but that's just the clinical. And there we go, you know. The ones with the bits of paper have come up with that number, Jess.
I know. And that's, look,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
look, I like to edge. I've said I like to edge on these conversations, right? So I'm going to put something out there, guys. And not everyone's going to like what I'm about to say, but seeing
Mm-hmm.
as though I'm with Pix, and Pix is an expert, and seeing as though Trish has worked in mental health for 16 years and she's passionate, and seeing as though I'm probably amongst some of the greatest, hello, Janetta, Nicole, and Bria, Kelsey, I know I'm around people that have worked in this, right, and that have something to say about this. I want to put this out there so we can generate an edgy discussion.
Yeah.
I actually think half the problem, or not half, but some of the problem, is this idea of being educated in this field.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, realistically, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna be so controversial right now, because I know this is what people say, but anyone that I've ever met that gets into mental health, psychology, psychiatry,
Has an
counseling,
issue?
well, they themselves almost want to understand themselves.
Selves.
And then they go in and they get educated. And I'm not, this is very general what I'm about to say, but I really want to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
They then get very educated themselves on, you know, Freud and all of the psychological doctrine and theory and all the things. And then this is the issue I have. Once someone is super educated in theory, that takes us away from actually
the practicality.
The practicality and the experience of being human, the anxiety that one feels. I mean, I've gone through periods of regret and depression. You know, I didn't call it that. I called it like I had this moment where I felt depressed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And then, but for some reason, there's some like, okay, now I'm the expert here. You need to come to me and I can help you and fix you because there's something a bit wrong with you.
Can I just jump in there, Jess? I'd like to say authority rather than expert.
Okay.
Yeah, and
say a bit more about that.
Yeah, by authority, because exactly what you were saying, I don't have that clinical trial, you know, or that expertise. I'm not educated in that. I've got a degree, but that's in natural resource management. It's not in like human resources, as in human capital. But I do have a PhD in life, a figurative one, obviously.
You know whose you do? Your own.
Exactly. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, I've got a master's in resilience. And to me, I've got so much more empathy than someone who is clinically trained that got jack shit experience in it. They've never lived it. But I do agree with you that a lot of people that get into the mental health sphere, and no disrespect to any trained clinicians that are on, but they do get in because they want to sort their own stuff out.
Yeah. And look, I do kind of risk discrediting all the great work that psychologists and psychiatrists do. So I just want to make sure that I'm not actually saying, guys, that that the work that a psychiatrist and a psychologist and anyone counseling and in mental health does is invalid. Absolutely not. You know, when I experience grief, the first thing I do is get myself into and book in with a psychologist because they're experts in that.
Yeah, yep.
But they're not experts in telling me that my feelings day to day need to be fixed because I'm not always happy. I think that's probably what I want to go. Not being always happy is not a problem.
Yeah. Actually, I'll say something because
please.
Part of my journey of resilience and courage is a lot of family deaths. Like I had 3 years where there was a death, a new job and a house move. A death, a new job and a house move. A death, a new job and a house move. 3 years consecutive. And if you look on the kind of personal Richter scale, that's right up there. Okay. And so when it was my mum, when she died, and she died in my arms, and that's not to seek pity, that's given me so much empathy for those that are transitioning, and I can really help and empathise with others who are, you know, losing loved ones. A friend recommended a book, and they're by Aussie authors, and I'm happy to share it later on, but there's passionate sadness versus depression. And that's exactly what I had. I missed my mum. She was my best friend and she died in my arms. Of course I'm going to be sad. I was never suicidal over it. I was very sad. So I wasn't depressed. I just had that passionate sadness. And I do understand there's different levels of, you know, anxiety, depression, and some need, you know, chemical intervention. I get that, and I'm not taking anything away. But when you recognise, I guess, what you do have, that's when you can treat it. And, you know, I'm all about complementary medicine. There's traditional and there's Western and Eastern, and meditation is a huge thing. And I know we'll touch on how do I cope with what's happened with me. But, yeah, it's really just, yeah, understanding what you're going through and knowing that it's okay not to be okay as well. Like I had that exactly today, Jess. It's like, F everything, I just need to have time out and go to the beach.
Yeah. And look, I think one of the things I get with my clients that I just notice over and over and over again is that, like, they're coming to me for advice on how to be themselves.
Yeah, yep.
Like, what do you feel like expressing right now? I'm afraid of what I look like. That's what there is for you to express then. And I just noticed that there's this constraint over exactly what I feel like right now is somehow needing to be assessed as right and wrong. And I'm like, can we get rid of this right and wrong thing? I don't know what it is.
I
Why
think
don't
it's
you
that comparison game, and it's
Yeah.
people thinking what others think they should be. When I really took back my life was when I started owning who I am and not being ashamed that I'm so vocal, so active, so sensual. I'm nearly 54 and I'm a sensual woman, and I'm okay with that. I'm not
Good.
overtly out there, but I bloody own, because I respect this body, this temple.
It's beautiful. So you
Yeah,
should. So
yeah.
tell me, because I do want people to hear your story, because I know that you haven't had, you haven't. I want people to know that you just didn't pop up one day and go, I'm an expert on mental health. Let me tell you what I've actually had to deal with in life. Why don't you tell, where did this first begin for you, where you were like,
Yeah, well, I
you
guess
actually
when I
started
was born, so 2 pound
yeah.
2, and then first and foremost, I'm a survivor of child sexual assault. And absolute disclosure, it was not a family member. It was an evil predatory neighbour. So for many years, I was abused. I didn't know that was wrong because I was groomed. It was our special secret, okay? And that was up to probably, I think, about the age of 7 or 8, and you don't know that it's wrong. So that was the first thing. And then my grandmother was killed, and I was in that car accident as well. We hit a truck. That's when I was 7. Then when I was about 24, we had another car accident. We hit a truck. I was a driver in both these two, guys. And my then now ex-husband, but he was my fiance then, he was nearly killed, as I was. And then 10 weeks to the day later, I just literally fell asleep at the wheel, had a micro sleep, rolled a car, went down an embankment, landed on the roof and kicked my way out. But in between that, there's been earthquakes and floods and people shooting themselves in the backyard, my nephew committing suicide, falling down a cellar. And so I'm like the cat of 9 lives, but I've literally stopped counting, Jess, because I reckon I'm getting up there. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So
yeah.
you've got a lot of reasons why you don't have to live a powerful life.
Yeah.
No, you really do. Like, there's plenty of
Yeah.
reasons why. And I'm not discounting that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've obviously gone through some emotional
Yep.
experience
Yep.
with you, right? I'm not discounting at all, but at some point, you've somehow allowed yourself to feel all of this.
Yeah. It was
So tell
that
me about
third
that.
car accident, because Dad always drunk. I was like, I am was the youngest of 3. My sister's passed away. That's another one. But yeah, I was like an only child because my sister was 6 years older than me. And so when I was 6, she was 12, and she was kind of always running away. And then my brother he's 10 years older than me. So I was like an only child. But yeah, it was just like Dad always drummed communication into our family. And we did have quite a tight-knit family, albeit small. And he said, if you haven't got communication, you haven't got anything. And that's so true. So I was brought up like that. And when I had the third of 3 and friggin' final car accidents, I didn't think, shit, why has this happened to me? I thought, why did I survive? What am I put on this planet to do? And it was to make a difference and live my best life so that I can be a spokesperson and a voice for those that can't or won't share their voice, either about child sexual assault or about adversity or depression or mental health. And that stems from Dad. And then, later on, my nephew sadly died by suicide. And his mum, my sister, died of alcoholism. So we've had mental health issues in our family. And, I just am so passionate about living my best life. Like, my life's not perfect. I never thought I'd be 54 nearly, freaking divorced, renting, but I love where I live. I live in Sydney, and I dance in the circumstance. I make the most of each and every day. And I see greatness and gratitude in every day.
And I think that's what I got really connected with you when we connected.
Yeah.
I don't really always get that excited about I'm a millionaire entrepreneur. No. I'm like, yeah, they're good. They're all right. I mean, I don't really care
Money
so much
doesn't
about
buy
whether
happiness.
No, but I also I'm not discounting people that are. I mean, I'm someone that also, I'm also about taking big leaps and doing things like that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But what I really love is people that can connect to this adventure called life.
Yep.
And can go through all of these things.
Yeah. Yep.
And still find a way to kind of reconcile and be okay with whatever you've experienced is okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny how you said about, and I love money. Don't get me wrong, and that's completely fine.
We all do.
I'm okay with that because money is energy. Money gives you choices. The more choices you have, the more people you can impact. So I love money. Okay. But my book, one of my books was titled Think and Get Rich After Hours, based off Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I do have approval from the Napoleon Hill Foundation. However, the program I was involved in was publish a book and grow rich. But rich, so many people automatically default to financial rich. And it wasn't about that, Jess. It was about spiritual, emotional, mental, physical richness. And so that book, that's been a long journey, and I'm talking long, like 20, 30 years long, guys, that concept. And now it's going to be like Think and Grow Happy, because I can absolutely 100% be the expert in that.
Good. I've just lost what I was talking to people about, so please ignore me. I'm sorry.
That's all
How
right.
rude of me.
Yeah.
Think and get happy. Think and grow happy.
Yeah, Think and Grow Happy, Think and Get Happy. I've got to do the research on which is the better title.
Do you know for me, so a lot of people talk to me and I'm like, today I had this guy, he's this incredible guy. He reached out to me. He's like, I want to do your programs. Just tell me how much they are. And I went, I don't do that. I don't care.
They've got to be a fit for you, and you've got to be a fit for them.
Like, you've got to be a community leader. You've got to be someone interested in leading people. But then he said, oh, we're going to meet up so that you can just tell me that I'm going to tell me how to make lots of followers through social media. And I said to my colleague, I'm like, I get it. I get there's so much of this crap out there where it's like, do the thing, make the money. And there's so much inboxing of things. So I sent back to him. I went, life is meant to be fun.
Yeah.
Adventurous.
Absolutely.
And you're supposed to have fun with this. So I sent back to him, it all depends on whether you can do interpretive dance or not. And what I'm going to promise you is that you're going to get 7-figure business and I will give you nothing. Are you in? And he's like, shut up and take my money, and laugh.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It doesn't, exactly. Life is meant to be this adventure.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. It is not meant to be. I'll
share something with you.
Yeah, please.
About adventure.
Yeah.
Single woman. And I thought, I worked in female fashion stores. I'm not going to meet many men. So yes, I did go on a dating site. And again, I like to take it offline, like have you texting, you kind of get a feel for them. But I said, hey, I'm happy to chat offline, as in over the phone. So I chatted with this guy at length for a number of calls. And he said, I'd love to meet you. I said, yeah, me too. So guess what we did? Went on a motorbike ride for the first date. Is that risky? Hell yeah. I'd never met this guy.
You're like really close.
Yeah, well, he had the bar at the back, but yeah, by the end of it, yeah. And I went, if my daughter had said, oh, Mum, I'm going on a date. Oh, what are you doing? Going to the beach? No, I'm going on a motorbike ride. I would have said, no, you're not. So what does Mama Bear do? She does it. So it's like, life is meant to be fun. But I
Yes.
got a feel for this guy's energy, and I get there's no nasty con men or women out there. I get that. But, you know, I'm mature enough and I've had enough life experiences with men to go, I think this one's a bit more genuine than the others I've been with.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And we have been on subsequent dates, I might add.
Oh, so you're dating this guy. Okay, good.
Yeah.
He could be watching you right now. Well, and just coming back to the topic, right?
Yep.
These moments that I have where you know, I experience joy, and I've learned to really just make fun of life and live in the adventure. And I'm very clear that my programs are distinctly different, and I'm unapologetic, and that's great. But there are times that I don't have moments like that.
Mm.
You know, one of my friends committed suicide last week, and it
Oh,
was
yes.
awful. I know. You know, and I don't, that doesn't mean that I'm somehow not, like, I'm bulletproof and I don't feel that. I felt everything about that.
Mm.
It actually made me far more convicted in my own
Yes. Yeah.
you know, what I want to do,
Impact.
and what
Yeah.
that's actually why I changed what I'm doing. I'm like, fuck this. We have to talk about this far more openly.
Yep.
This is shit.
Kick
You
the
know,
stigma
and
to the
you
Oh,
know,
Jess, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
it was awful. And, you know, I have these amazing friends that I used to work with that, you know, they all are at the impact of this. And then I got worried about, I don't want to make any of them feel like for a second that this was anything to do with them. And, but I also want to, you know, amplify this message about mental health, because I get it. There was a time in my life that I considered I didn't want to be here either. And I was going through that. And I'm fortunate enough to have done the work for myself, that I don't ever experience that anymore.
Yeah.
But, you know, tell me about you. And did you ever experience that?
That's a good question, because I thought, have I ever been suicidal? I guess I've thought of not being here, but then I've never actually had any premeditated thoughts for how I would do it. So, yeah, I guess I've probably had suicidal tendencies. But having experienced the loss of my nephew through suicide, I know the absolute sad ripple effect that plays out forever and ever. But the positive is 5 of his organs were donated and 1 was his heart. So in my book, I'll have to Toby, from my beating heart to yours. And, you know, that is just such an inspiration to know that his death wasn't in vain. And, you know, with all the bushfires, some of his skin was donated as well. So that would have gone to some of the bushfire victims. So whilst it's as tragic as it was, and same with your beautiful friend, we have to know that we're not the ones that are responsible for that.
Well, no, I'm very clear. Like, I've done so much work to know that, you know, I'm just going to be real. We don't exactly live in the best of times. That, you know, when I look around, I've had a few things happen even the last 24, 48 hours that haven't been great. And the only difference that I notice is that I don't allow that to stop me. I have a mantra in my business, which is never stop showing up.
I was just going to say, before you said that, and look at you now, you're showing up here.
Yeah. You know, like
to you.
One of my employees is from the Philippines, and something happened in the Philippines, and I still don't even know what happened to him. And I'm really worried about him. Something's going on over there. And he hasn't shown up for work for 2 days. You know, and I'm really worried. And then that happened last week, and my mum's got severe mental illness, and I am not somehow bulletproof to life.
Oh, no one is. No one is. And, you know, there's a Facebook user, I don't know the name, but they've had suicidal tendencies.
Exactly.
And, you know, there's people out there that can help, and there's other practices that you can do to help yourself as well. And, you know, we'll touch on those later too, Jess.
Yeah. And I think you know, when we talk about even this idea, when we talked about mental health, it's like I have really, I want people to know that it's possible to get to a place where you can never stop showing up. And, you know, there obviously was that practice for you. To me, it's all practice. Everything needs to be a practice. At one point, I was crying anytime something happened, crying, something wrong with me, that things keep happening in my life. I can't believe that this is happening. Oh, this person's died. I feel bad. Or something happened with my mom. This feels bad. Like, and then at some point I went, no, life just never fucking stops.
Yeah. Well, look,
I'm swearing.
Your mind, it's like your tummy. I keep saying to people, you feed your tummies daily. You have to feed your minds daily. Like, you're not going to read a book and go, I'm personally developed for life. No, you have to keep topping it up. And, you know, Jim Rohn said you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. So be careful who's in your tribe. Some of them might be family, as hard as that is.
It is. I highly recommend loving people from afar. I do.
Especially in COVID times. That's COVID safe.
Yeah. It was. But tell me about, how do we normalize this, Pix? Like, how do we normalize this conversation? Because this is, you know, I'm like, someone said to me today, no one tells you about their shitty and tragic relationships. And I texted her and went, I do.
Yeah, I do. Be friggin' honest and raw.
Yes.
In fact, I told you we've had the 24-hour, the breathing room, which is an initiative from our Making Meditation mainstream. And then Jason, our founder, he started it at 6:30 yesterday, and then there were 48 sessions, obviously, 24.
Wow.
Beach crew leaders, and I did 2. He closed it out at 6 till 6:30, and then he went overtime, and he just had absolute gratitude for us as beach crew leaders, even though we're doing it online now, and the Glamour Artsy team, the team back end, you know, all the celebrities that donated their time as well. And he was in tears, like he thanked his family as well, and just tears of everything, overwhelm, of 24 hours, of relief, of joy, of emotional exhaustion. And then I thought, you know what? I don't give a shit. I'm in my pajamas. I'm going to do a live now. So I did. And no makeup, in my pajamas, in bed. And I just said, guys, it's okay not to be okay. The more you are your authentic, true, genuine, heartfelt self, the more this world needs you, and the more the world needs to hear your story. And it was like, I just had viewers, and I never do it for me, because I ended up in tears, and I went, I don't give a shit. People have to be authentic, you know, because you can't live in someone else's highlight reel, and you can't show up. I know what you're saying about showing up, but you can't show up as perfect or, you know, all the time. You have to be genuine. And yeah, I've got a health and wellness business, but you'll see me with no makeup, with messy, Jessie hair, with in bikinis, because that's me.
Yeah. And do you have days, Pix, where you feel not great?
Yeah, like today, until I showed up here, honey.
No, I was I'm here.
CBF day, to be honest.
Well, can't be fucked.
I couldn't be bothered doing anything. And I went, you know, it's obviously been emotionally draining. And we talked before this, you know, interview here, Jess, off air, that on the first of the month, guys, my late dad always used to text me, and we'd have this race when mobile phones came in. You know, you've heard of pinch and a punch for the first of the month and all that. My dad always used to text me hares and rabbits, and I kind of Australianised it to kangaroos and koalas. And, you know, he'd cheat because he'd go to the toilet at 11 o'clock at night and then press it early morning. But and I went, you know, that's the little things that I miss. I don't have my mum and my dad. My daughter's not here. Oh, I'm going to have a pity party today. So I did. And then I went, I really can't be bothered doing anything. So I went to the beach and just soaked up the sun. So as Tony Robbins says, you have to change your state by changing where you are. You know, motion creates emotion. And I always thought it was the other way around. I'm not going to do it because I feel shit. No, you do it and that helps you feel less shit. He got us into a suffering state. Yeah, 2,000 of us when we went to a workshop or a seminar of his, and he like the suffering state. And yes, I thought about my nephew, and there were like people thought of whatever suffering state that Tony got them in or they thought of, and there were tears, like hysterical tears. And then he put on pump up music and he said, go hug someone. You can't dance around like a goose and hug someone and not immediately feel better. So emotion creates emotion.
It sure does.
Yeah.
And it's great that you're saying that, because I noticed today, you know, where I couldn't get in touch with one of my employees and I got really worried. And I was really like impacted by that. I was like, I don't know what's happening, and I hate not knowing if someone's okay or they're not.
Yeah.
And I still don't know. And you know, that happened, and then during, you know, things happened in the business where I'm not, you know, things happen in the business, and then there were other things, and my mum is not well, and and then things happened last week, and I got to the end of the day and I was like tired.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
I just want to fall in the lap of someone special.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I hear you.
And so, and my housemate and I, like, well, I keep saying housemate, but she's actually my business partner colleague. She's like calling me about, I don't know, you know, she's dealing with something too. And then we're like, we're just going to dance.
Yep.
We're going to put on a song.
Dance in the circumstance.
Weird.
Absolutely.
So she's like, I'm going to put on a song and we're just going to dance because we need some energy.
Yep.
And I went, okay. So she put on this song and I'm like, on your channel, because for some reason I felt a bit self-conscious. And we just danced. Yeah. And I got energy, you know, because keeping my word is really important to me. I know that showing up tonight is what I intended for myself. So it's me living out my best life.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's not always, I don't always feel good.
No, and that's okay.
You're right.
That's absolutely okay. Acknowledge that.
Yeah, I do.
Because people say to me, and also because, you know, like you, I've got a bit of a following. If I'm up all the time, they go, my God, what drugs is she on? And so for them to see the real, not that I'm not happy most of the time, I'm not saying that, because what you see is what you get with me, like WYSIWYG. So if I show up when I'm not feeling the best, they go, oh my God, she is human. Oh, wow, it's okay. It's okay for her. It's okay for me, meaning them. And that's what I want them to see. Yeah.
Hey, you know, it's interesting you say this, right? Because why is it's such a stigma to have anxiety or depression, like have bouts? I still like to have bouts, right? Why is it such a stigma to experience anxiety or depression?
Because it's not talked about, and it's that unseen stuff, I think, Jess. You know, it's not the physical, like we said. It doesn't have the bandage. You know, oh gosh,
it's hidden.
Did you break your arm? Oh, how did it happen? Whereas if someone's suffering mental health, well, one, you can't see it, and two, we don't know how to handle it. It's the same as death. I think that there's so much mental ill health because our school system fails. Well, who gives a shit about Pythagoras' theorem when I've got a mobile phone bill that I cannot pay? I'm going to go do something about it to my, you know. We don't learn about it, do we? We need to focus on life skills. Yeah. And coping and resilience.
Well, you know what? I'm interested to see what you think about this, because I've been reading this book called The Big Leap. I don't know if you know that book.
No, you were telling me about it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was always like, a lot of my training and my programs is about failure. I mean, there is a lot of failure in being an entrepreneur anyway, and I'm like king failure. I put out like a TikTok today that my colleague went, that's cringe. I texted and went, I'm okay that it's cringe. Okay, right. So anyway, but
every master was a disaster sometime.
Exactly. When you're trying something new, I'm like, I don't know how to quickly do TikToks right now. I've just got to keep testing and learning.
So there we go.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I was talking to her about it, but one of the things in this book was actually saying, do you know what we're really not good at? allowing ourselves to experience unprecedented joy.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
We create scenarios of failure so that we never have to really get good at being in a state of joy. And I was like, yeah.
Someone loves Pythagoras' theorem. Good on you. That's hilarious.
I imagine that Sky. I can't see, but I
Yes,
know
it
Sky
is.
so well. One of my it is okay.
Sky, go for it. Champion. Yep.
Genuine issue. Yeah, it's like, imagine if we were so used to being in joy. And when things, so this talks about, we go, oh, it's so good right now, and then we go, but what if it's not going to be good tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like immediately, and then we kind of manifest this stuff, right? Yeah. And then I was like, wow, it's so true. Firstly, we need to be okay with talking about how we worry about stuff. And how we experience grief and shame and guilt and all of that.
Yep.
But how about getting good? Like that's one thing that I've taken on mastering. All this stuff that's happening with my mum, with my friend, with what happened today. I'm like, I'm still going to experience joy. I'm not going to stop feeling what this is really like, but I'm also going to allow myself to have a joyful experience, even though I'm worried.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's happened to this guy. And even though my mum is not well. Like, imagine if we allow ourselves to experience joy through tough times.
Oh, yeah, of course. And, you touched on a bubble. I don't live in a happiness bubble, but I see, not every day is great, but I see greatness in every day. And even to the fact that I have forgiven my perpetrator. And whilst I would never wish to go through that again, I'm actually grateful that it has happened, because I've lived it, I've got through it, and, from victim to victor kind of thing. And it's allowed me to have that experience to be able to help others get through theirs who wouldn't be able to. I had an adult guy my age, disclose to me that he was raped as a kid. Like, we're now going to do something together because I've got so much more empathy for him and understanding to know that he didn't cause it. It was caused to him. And to help him get through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I kind of always think about this, right? Forgiving your perpetrator, first of all, that's such a courageous act. Mostly because who knows what the perpetrator is going through, right? The person that did what they did.
Yeah.
But who knows what they've experienced and why they did it and what they went through. And, the fact that they even ended up where they went through, I can't imagine that they would have had stuff that they had not dealt with, right?
Yeah.
But what you're basically telling the world is you're willing to have a great life and not hold on to something.
I've had to do a lot of forgiveness of my parents. And I'm thinking, what? Not that they knew, because the minute they did, it was absolutely police statements and, medical, all that stuff. But I did have to forgive my parents.
Yeah. What was it that you had to forgive them for?
Well, Dad was away a lot. And so I sought solace and father figure in the next door neighbour. And so probably deep down I regretted or didn't, was sad that Dad wasn't with us so much, because he was a travelling salesman for a brewery, Courage Breweries, like I mentioned. I had to do that. I had to forgive my sister. She was older and she chose the path of alcohol and abuse, mental abuse from partners and physical abuse. And so I just really had to start and forgive myself. Absolutely forgive myself, because I felt that I caused it as a young kid.
Yeah.
And that manifested in so many ways as an adolescent and even older in my adult life. And now, like I said before, Jess, about owning this body is a temple. And I respect it. And whoever else, my partner, life partner, they have to respect it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm.
someone said it's not an excuse. It's absolutely not. I don't want you to think that I'm going to just be real. I have deep, deep, deep compassion for people that perpetrate.
Mm.
Every single person I've ever worked with that has done something ridiculously bad, like what's considered bad, they've always got this story that is just horrendous. I've not met one that hasn't. And look, I'm not saying this out of school. I've got my own family and I've got some serious stuff that's happened in my own family. So don't worry, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, yeah. They actually
But
do say there can be a genetic predisposition to pedophilia.
Yeah,
Genetic.
well,
Yep.
I don't know.
Not in
I
all
don't know.
cases. Yeah.
Oh man, this is a whole nother discussion in itself, right?
So, how's your knitting
But
going, Jess?
yeah, I'm like, it's a whole nother discussion itself. But what I'm saying is, it's really, for me, there's not been someone I haven't, and I'm not even saying anyone that's triggered by that. I'm not even saying that it's actually okay to not be okay with the fact that this stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's actually what I call a zone of genius. There are people out there that can provide compassion, and it doesn't have to be you if you don't want to. Right? We all have our unique gifts or unique expression
Talents,
to which
yeah.
we can contribute, you know, and some of it is not to provide level of compassion for people that do horrendous things. You know, it's okay. It's not okay. But also there is a healing that needs to be going on both sides.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, from what even our topic is, you said the biggest problem in the world is the stigma. We don't even get to talk about this if all we do is find people
Dance around
who dance around it. And like you said, like, when are we going to normalize a conversation like this?
Yeah. And categorically, neither of us are normalising the activity. We're normalising the conversation around it. Same with mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how do we do that, Pix?
Certainly creating awareness, creating those conversations, making mental health mainstream, like the conversations around mental health mainstream. Hand on heart, I'm fairly new to the practice of meditation, and I will sing its praises because I know what it's done for me. Like, I'm a bit like you, Jess. Like, if I sat somewhere for 5 minutes, I had to have had a broken leg, you know, because I just couldn't. I'd talk faster, I'd walk faster, I'd do everything fast. But now I literally, actually this morning, sat for an hour doing 2 meditation practices. So meditation, and the more I'm learning about the brain and the gut-brain connection, the law of attraction, and then there's that higher level, the law of vibration. And I just am so grateful, and it changes your physiology. And you can call it woo-woo, but there's scientific proof about the benefits of meditation. And hand on heart, I've experienced the synchronicities with law of vibration as well.
Yeah, look,
You know? And you've
I
got
don't.
the amygdala. So, yeah, you've got to find what floats your boat, but be open-minded to other practices that could work for you. You know, I have a
Absolutely.
gratitude journal that I write down 5 things that I'm grateful for morning and night, because it starts your day. How you start the day really sets that intention. And then I read a positive book, and then I do my meditation. And in COVID times, we're doing it 6:30 a.m. and 8 p.m. And then we will go back to the beaches, because we were only doing them every Saturday morning at 6:30. Oh, Grant, how did you get on?
He
One of
found
those
you.
friends. Yeah. Thanks so much, Grant. Yeah, we were normally doing it at 6:30 on a Saturday morning, wherever time zone you were in, okay? And now we're doing it because of the importance of it and the connection. It's all about connecting to yourself, connecting to your community, and connecting to Mother Earth. And
Yeah.
I just love that.
And for people that have people in their lives, like, I'm just thinking, you know, the other day, my mum has, she's got schizophrenia and bipolar, you know, and I called her crying, going, Mom, I just want a different life for you, right? And I do. I'm like, I've done all this work and done all this stuff, and I just want my mum to live a different life. And she said to me, Jess, I'm happy. I mean, sure, she sees lizards crawling over her legs and stuff, but that freaks her out a bit. And I'm like, they're not there. But she said, Jess, I'm happy. Why do you always keep trying to make me different? And I do. I'm like, because I have studied and I've done all this work for so long, I can make a difference to you. And she goes, what do you want from me? And I said, I want to know that you love who you are. And she went, I do love who I am. And I went, she goes, I love my life. And I remember thinking, we really don't know what people love and what they don't. And I was judging her life based on what I thought.
By your standards,
By my standards. And she just wants me to be there to listen, to love her, to hear what her life is like. And when she has a bad day, she loves that I just hear her. I don't even say anything.
Yeah.
And
a problem shared is a problem halved.
It is. And I was like crying, and I realized that my whole life was like, you know, it was a big realization for me to realize that my whole life I have done all this work because all I wanted to do was to make my mum better. And this whole time, whilst I'm very glad I've done a lot of work now and I'm very highly trained in certain things, she didn't even need it.
She didn't need it. Yeah. That's a really big epiphany, Jess. And actually, I post obviously a lot of content daily, some videos, some live, some, you know, images and quotes and that. And it's like, don't treat others the way you want to be treated. Treat others the way they want to be treated.
Exactly. And just as I'm pretty sure that Sky, she probably wishes you because she listens. I know she does. You know, it's true. And
funny characters in your tribe,
I know.
Jess.
Oh, I do. They're awesome. But it's what I realized is that she just loves that I hear her. You know, when she calls and she's sad, she loves that I just listen. And when she gets scared about, you know, things that she does see lizards, like, and she sees things coming through the screens and that, she loves that I just listen. She doesn't need me to do anything. She doesn't need me to go, you need to go and do this coaching program so you'll have a better life. She just loves that I listen and care and love her. And, you know, when you said normalize and stigma, it's like there's really nothing else to do. I mean, what do you think in all your experience?
Yeah, well, it's accepting and listening. And as you said, a lot of the time they do want it fixed, but they just want to be heard. They just want to be valued, because everybody on this planet wears a sign that says, make me feel important. However that is, just listening to your mum with lizards crawling on her. She doesn't want to be fixed. She wants to be heard. That's what makes her feel important. So it's a matter of finding out what makes people feel important. And I'm closing out a lot of my lives with, you are loved, you matter, and you are valued. Because so many people, we have to pour so much love into people, because there's so many negative influences, social media, the news, COVID, whatever it is. They just go in there, and whatever you hear first, you take as truth. Then if you hear something else, you don't believe it. And a lot of people default to negative, you know, and it's like when you hear reviews, you'll take on board the negative one rather than the positive one. So we just have to, I'm not saying live in a bubble or this ideal life. That's an illusion. But just listen to people and find out what they need and be there. Often it's a hug, it's an ear, it's a shoulder when we can.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's absolutely true. And I think, you know, just to close off, because we're coming up to the end of this, is, you know, if we talk about how to normalize and what this stigma even is, it's that I think, from what I can hear you're saying, it's like there's nothing for you to do. If someone says, does, bees, anything, just be there and listen.
Be. Mm.
You don't have to do anything. You're going to be loved just the way you are. And it's okay to be worried that you're going to get it wrong too. That's a big part of it. Like, it's like, I got to do the right thing. I spent, 20 years trying to fix my mom, only to find out she didn't need fixing. And she still loves me. She doesn't care. You can't get it wrong. Is there anything you want to add? Yeah.
Oh, just that. Well, thank everybody for sharing your part of your, what is it, Monday? Yeah, Monday evening.
It is Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, with us. Take action. You can change your mindset. I'm not saying you can fix everything, but you can change your mindset, because you can't have a positive and a negative thought at the one time. So if you are feeling down, put on that crazy ass song and dance around the room. And I'm not going to say it's going to fix everything, but it will help you feel better. And it's okay not to be okay, and reach out to others if you really need help, because there's help out there.
Absolutely. I think it's great what you're saying, because I went from switching from, it's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about fully feeling them, but allowing yourself to also practice joy even when things aren't great. I call it an interruption. You interrupt it. And you fully feel it all at the same time.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Pix.
Thank you, Jess, for the beautiful opportunity to share.
And for everything that you provide, and, what you do when you speak, and your books and everything. If you do have a link to your next book or anything that you would like to, please do drop it in here so people can find you and link to you and follow your journey.
Well, the best way would be on socials, Jess, because my website's very dated, but Pix Jonnason, or, follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, TikTok.
TikTok. You're on TikTok
how's this
too.
About social media. I wrote a LinkedIn article about TikTok that went to Twitter. So go figure.
That's awesome.
I just love being social. My friends know I'll talk to a lamppost. So anyway.
Good.
But thank you very much, Jess. And
welcome.
You're on your own journey. Every single person's on their own journey. The only person you need to compare yourself with is yourself. Be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you are today. And
absolutely.
I'm the Chief Hug Officer, so giving you all big virtual hugs.
Thank you so much, Pix. And everyone that joined in, thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution tonight. Big love to you. And we'll talk to you later. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, Pix.